VMware, open to open. Open source. That's not a question.
Oh, this
No, I don't know. You made an interesting statement before we started where you said that you talked to somebody from VMware. Who was that?
Yeah, it was Carl Aschenbach, actually, when he was on stage here at Nexenta. He talked about how VMware is open to open, being open source.
Which is an interesting
Yeah.
phrase for VMware. And what do you think he means when he says that?
Look, I think that the influences of open source software across the board, whether it's for management, whether it's for big data, etc., has made such an impact that for a company like VMware, and frankly any software company, not to embrace it and to take advantage of it would be silly.
I mean, is this something as simple as he's saying we're fine with you putting Linux on a VMware thing, or is it's beyond that?
I think it's way beyond that. I mean, if we look at projects like OpenStack, and we look at projects like Hadoop, you know, these are fundamental and foundation pieces of software that we're building our entire data centers on.
And so, you know, it's interesting. So he spoke here at
Right.
OpenSDx, which obviously is put on by Nexenta. So what do you think what would be the typical relationship between a Nexenta-like platform and a VMware platform?
So Nexenta provides software-defined storage,
Right.
which, and in many ways, Nexenta's openness itself is a demonstration of how open source and companies like VMware work together. I think Nexenta's relationship with VMware demonstrates the ability for third-party software to take advantage of products like VMware as a foundational piece of software and then enhance functionality on top of that.
And what other sort of open source projects, companies, what do you see sort of contributing to this space?
Well, like I mentioned before, OpenStack is a big deal, as well as Hadoop. I think those really are the two major projects we hear about every day. But you know, there's a lot more going on than just those two projects. But those are the two that I see being talked about very constantly.
Anything that you don't see being talked about that you think maybe is interesting, horizon?
Yeah, I mean, the areas that we're seeing that are open source but not being talked about is actually a lot of the areas being covered by the major companies. Whether it's KVM, whether it's other hypervisors out there, whether it's software related to management, whether it's software related to even enterprise applications. Those tend to get pushed to the back burner, partly because they don't have marketing behind it, and partly because of enterprises' need to rely on something. I think the biggest challenge for open source software is the question of who's going to support it. Right, and this has been the case since the beginning of Linux.
Right. Yeah, and I think there always needs to be a Red Hat to a Linux, there needs to be a Nexenta to
Exactly.
to the, what's the file system that they use, which ZFS,
Right.
ZFS.
Yep.
And for commercial, for large companies to use open source in their environments.
Absolutely.
And which of course is a nice partnership between those who are comfortable using the downloaded, I'll support it myself version of open source, and those that need the support, right? So you've got a nice.
I think enterprises get the opportunity to test out a lot of these functionalities using the downloaded version or the DIY version, and then when they recognize the benefit of these pieces of software, then go to someone who is committed, and I use the word in two ways, committing updates back to the project and committed to supporting the product and enhancing the product and providing the necessary back-end consulting, implementation, and then support services behind that.
Yeah, and then the other side, a company like mine being able to, all of our websites run on CentOS, right?
Sure.
So I'm running Red Hat, but I'm not running Red Hat,
right?
Which is a beautiful thing. Hope you enjoyed that interview with Ben Wu from Neuralytix. Make sure to check out our other videos on TrueBit TV and subscribe while you're at it. Thanks for watching.